Hello, I'm John Odden. My topic this evening is the power of story across a community. I'm going to share several different vignettes of how story flows in people, the way that relates to spirit and truth, some of the consequences and opportunities, and at the end, if you happen to agree with me that story within community is powerful and you'd like to do something towards that, I've got a few suggestions I'll share with you. Ken Burns is a highly respected, globally, documentary filmmaker. He's one of the preeminent American documentary filmmakers. He's won Emmys and Grammys, multiply nominated for the Academy Awards. You may remember some of his work, the Civil War, baseball. He also happened to have been the quiet kid sitting across the aisle from me in high school English class, a fellow I never got to know very well. And then he blossomed. He finished college and he erupted as an incredible contributor. And I'd like to just share some comments he made, his perspective on story, the story of Jackie Robinson, and what happened when the day came for Jackie to take the field for the Brooklyn Dodgers. And the fans who were there living in the story before that day of racism, Major League Baseball, an elite sport for the whites. And then the day came, Jackie came to the plate. And as Ken relates it, the baseball fans, passionate Brooklyn Dodgers baseball fans, had a choice to make. Leave the sport of baseball, root for the other team, or change. Jackie took the field. Baseball changed. The fans' stories changed that quickly. Sure, there was a lot around it, but that was the essence. The stories changed. I like Leo DeRocher's comment about what went up to his monumental decision to play this African American in Major League Baseball. He said, "I don't care if the guy is yellow or black, or if he has stripes like a zebra. I'm the manager of this team, and I say he plays." And so it went. That's just one example, an interesting one to start considering the power of story across the community. And now I'd like to turn and share examples out of a different domain. Let's consider children in the school. And let's take a moment and think about bullying. What's up with bullying? Have we heard of it? Is it out there? Do we have personal experience? I noticed that there were a lot of studies out there on bullying, and so I picked what they call a meta-study, where some research scientists looked at all the studies about bullying. They found that some studies said that a tenth of the kids are involved, and others said it could be 90%. And across all those studies, they came down that it was about 35% if you averaged the credible scientific studies. 35% of our children, during their experience through school, are involved in traditional bullying in some manner. And they also said that as much as twice that many might have been involved but would never report it. So what is up with this bullying? In first grade, my teacher had a nephew who became an Eagle Scout. And he won a special prize to go on a trip to Antarctica with some major explorers and come back with National Geographic photos and artifacts. And he sent it to my teacher, and she had a session on science in the morning about Antarctica. Based on my name, I happened to be sitting in the back of the class with some other kids who didn't find it very interesting. So what did they do the first day? They talked, and they didn't pay attention. I couldn't hear the lesson, and this was the most interesting thing that had ever happened in my school career. We were hearing about an actual trip to Antarctica, for gosh sakes. The second day I said, come on, I want to hear this. They didn't pay any attention. And then came the third day. The teacher looked back. The back of the room was quiet. The little children around me were sitting there looking a little different. Yep, I don't know why or how I figured it out or did it, but I took duct tape, and those kids were willing to sit there and let me duct tape their little mouths. I was going to hear that. Well, as you might guess, there was some intervention, a whole lot. And there was a lot of discussion about, was I trying to hurt them? Was I angry? The best lesson we ever had in my first grade class, and I just wanted to hear it. So some things were figured out. My school career continued. My parents made it very clear to me that I was to conduct myself so that I could stay in school and participate. Because the school was thinking, maybe not. So then, my father got a job and the family moved from New York State to the Midwest to Michigan. And in third grade, I had some pretty thick glasses. Now they make the really thin stuff. And they've got the, stylish thin frames. Back then it was all thick plastic, and there was a decision, should we get the colored ones or what should we do? And the decision was use the natural plastic. I thought it was pink. The other kids thought, the new kid, he's Four Eyes. The bullies focused all their attention on me. Until one week when the whole world turned upside down and inside out. Another story about the story and how it goes across the community and can have a major change. How people's perceptions are felt in their gut, how they behave, what the world looks like. Because one day I went to school and the bullies just bullied me. And I was used to that, and I was interested in the class, and I did my best, and the other kids were thinking, I guess, he's getting bullied, not us, And then the next day, on the way home, the bullies figured we're going to fix it. That smart guy who's raising his hand and answering the questions and helping the teacher make us do the work, we're going to fix it. So on the way home, between the school and the neighborhood where people live, they jumped me, pinned me down, and then figured, we'll just choke him till he's gone, done. We'll do him in. And so someone put their hand over my mouth, and I was struggling, but there were more of them than me. And with the hand over my mouth, I did. I bit the guy's hand. I really did. So then they went for my neck and squeezed until I was blacked out. I don't know how long it took, but eventually I did wake up. And I went around and found my glasses. They were off somewhere in the grass on the side. They weren't broken, thank goodness, and I put them on. And I went home. And my mother's first question was, what did you do? We talked a little bit, and she was pretty certain that for my neck to be all red and messed up, she didn't want to see what the other kids might look like. Oh my goodness, what did my little boy do to get this? And we talked about it, and I said, look, I just want to go to school. I'm going to go to school. So the next day, got all set, went to school. It was a warm day, and I had my shirt up, and one of the other kids asked, why is your shirt up, and why does your voice sound so squeaky? And I didn't really think much. As I recall, I just kind of said, well, the bullies jumped me, and the other kid looked at all that red around my neck where they choked me till I passed out. Didn't say very much. I didn't say anything. But within a short period of time around that classroom, all the kids were looking at the bullies differently. By the end of the day, the bullies had been in the office complaining to the principal that that Johnny bit us, for gosh sakes. You've got to do something about him. I went home. The next day I went back to school. Did you bite those other kids? Yeah. Well, why did you do that? And I said, well, they were attacking me. And I don't think I'd ever seen adults be that surprised before. They were interested in, did you go to the emergency department? That never crossed anyone's mind. Did you go to the doctor? Did your parents call the police? What do you want to do? I want to go to school. So perhaps there's a lot that could have been done better in that scenario. If it happened today, I'm pretty confident society's shifted and evolved, and things might have been done quite a bit differently. There could have been learning, reconciliation, discipline, or whatever. In that case, though, in that moment, without a lot being said, with no formal action or announcement, the story shifted. Some of the bullies left the elementary school. I got more involved, and I wasn't four eyes, and participated in activities and went on and got to high school. Didn't notice Ken Burns sitting next to me in my high school English class. So in that kind of a setting, what is going on with the story? What does it mean? What's important to take away from that? I like this one particular comment by Ernest Holmes as we start to triangulate on something that I think can be a little subtle and a little hard to deal with, because these can be intense kind of experiences, intense stories. Ernest said, "What characteristics are set before us as being worthy? Have not faith and belief in the divine goodness been the theme of our greatest singers? Who could write a beautiful story about hell? But heaven and love have inspired thousands to the uplifting of humanity. Jesus was right when he said that the meek shall inherit the earth. They have done so and will continue to do so." So what kind of meek was that? Was that the meek about getting ambushed and beat up? I don't think so. I think it's the meek about simply, in a dignified way, telling our truth, standing in the truth, our principle as we see it. Consider what we find in the Bible, in Matthew chapter 5, verse 39. Sometimes a familiar phrase. "But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also." I don't think the point behind the scripture was to get overrun by bullying, but rather I do think it's a profound statement about standing in our truth and not going for personal revenge. I do believe that's kind of the lesson there. And to continue to kind of triangulate and do a good job at looking at what is the essence of what we learn about the story and the way it can shift across the community and what it does to lives and people and our attitudes. To me, it's interesting what the Dalai Lama says, because he's one who's been in situations of adversity and is renowned around the world for speaking and acting in an articulate way in the face of forces that may have great power and not agree with his direction and his principle. And it's a very simple statement. The greatest glory lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. So what can we do about that? I would say that one of the reasons we're here as a Center for Spiritual Living is that we have classes, we have practitioners, we have a philosophy and a course of study that's all about how to be the author, craft our story positively, for love, for goodness. How to do that in the real world that we live in with all the challenges that we face. So if crafting that story around you and your community for good calls to your heart, look at the certificated classes that are coming up. Check out the enrichment opportunities, and just come here and hang out with people who really are here for that commitment to stand in truth and to craft the good story, the one that truly does make a world that embraces and works for all. Thank you.